Hey.
This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin FREAKIN.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol, live. It's a freaking Friday, and it's Halloween weekend. So I'm kind of thinking there's not going to be that many people on the stream tonight. Even though there's a fucking pandemic going on, and people shouldn't be out doing shit. Bunch of rule breakers. But you know what that means? It being a freaking Friday and Halloween weekend. Smoke them if you got them. Now, in the comments from one of the clips from last night's show, had a lot of right-wingers trying to troll me? Maybe, I don't know. I had a lot of people chime in on some of my clips from last night's show. One of them called me a lard ass. And as someone who has spent most of his life being incredibly skinny and people telling me the wind was going to blow me away, look at my fucking wrist. You can like snap it with your fingers. It's kind of weird that someone called me a lard ass. I mean, I put on a little weight in the last few years. That's true. In my 30s, as my metabolism has slowed down, I wouldn't call me a lard ass. I got a little bit of a gut because I'm from the South, and I like to cook like I'm from the South. A lot of butter, a lot of cheese. I filled out nicely in my 30s. All right, so I don't think I have anything from Trump tonight, so it's going to be a breath of fresh air. We're not even going to hear the motherfucker's voice. But we're going to hear from people who are as equally as grating as Trump. Now, the big story for the last 2 weeks in right-wing circles has, of course, been the Hunter Biden laptop story. So if you haven't been paying attention, because apparently social media is censoring this shit, even though it's all I hear about, if you believe right-wingers, a guy by the name of Tony Bobulinski came forward. He alleges that he is a former business partner of Hunter Biden. He said that he was upset at the way Biden responded to the accusations after Giuliani and Steve Bannon brought forward a laptop from some repair shop. It's all very confusing, but Tucker stated that he had materials from the laptop that were incredibly damning that he received when he was in California conducting an interview with Tony Bobulinski, that he UPS'd them, I guess, to New York, where Fox Studios is located, and UPS not lost them, but Tucker is going to allege that someone at UPS opened them. Like, this is all just insane conspiracy. But let's listen to what Tucker had to say last night on his show about this issue.
Last night we told you about a pretty weird experience we had this week. On Monday, one of our producers in New York overnighted a package to our executive producer, Justin Wells, and to me in Los Angeles. We were there preparing for an interview with a former Biden family business partner called Tony Bobulinski. Somewhere along the way, the contents of that package disappeared. Inside it was a flash drive that contained primary documents pertaining to the Biden family.
Okay, so I guess I got it wrong. They were mailing them, shipping them from New York to Los Angeles, where he was at with Bobulinski. Now, why would they need to do that? I hate to inform you, I am not taped. We are live. I couldn't come on here and say this is the Troll Patrol live if I wasn't live. What Jason is referring to is I was going to participate in a streamed concert tonight, and I was planning on taping my show and playing it back, but turns out I don't have to watch that concert live. I can catch it anytime in the next 3 days. And also, if I had taped my show earlier in the day, it would clearly be sunny outside. It just got dark a few minutes ago. So it would have looked really weird. I thought about this. I almost taped the show at 5 o'clock in the morning last night. But then I was worried that it was going to become daylight while I was on, and I still wouldn't be able to pull it off. But we wouldn't be able to talk about all this Tony Bobulinski shit. And I wouldn't be able... Some right-wingers watched clips of the show from last night, and they've recommended some videos that I watch. Because I'm still wondering what the fuck is the story here. So we're going to watch those videos together after we listen to what Tucker has to say here. I already know that one of the videos is Alex Jones, though, so that should tell you something.
I'll tell you, those documents did not come from Tony Bobulinski, and of course, we made a copy of those files before we sent them because we're careful. We get a lot of documents.
So where did these documents come from?
But that's especially true in election years. And before we put them on the air, we have to determine first whether they're real, these were real, whether they're newsworthy, and whether it's legal to show them. We wanted to assess what we had, and we're still assessing it. But the point is, the package never arrived. Proprietary reporting on the Biden family, documents sent between journalists by supposedly secure overnight mail, disappeared. And they vanished on the same day we were conducting...
Notice the furrowed brow here. Tucker is incredibly concerned about what happened with his UPS package. There's multiple allegations he's going to make here.
A heavily publicized interview based in part on documents from the Biden family. So as you can imagine, we wanted to know what happened. Unfortunately, we still don't know what happened. This morning, UPS issued a press release announcing they had found our flash drive and then boasting about their customer service. Quote, UPS will always...
That is fantastic customer service, shit.
...stop working to solve issues, which is fine. UPS is a reliable company. They rarely lose anything. We agree with that. That's why we use them in the first place. And yet they lost our Biden documents. How? UPS won't tell us how. We spent a lot of the day talking to executives there. They claim
I would not be surprised if this is all some kind of ruse.
UPS building on 43rd Street in Manhattan. They suggested it might have been sitting on the floor there. They couldn't prove that because, remarkably, in a room where millions of high-value packages are handled, there are no security cameras. That's what they told us. UPS says the employee who found our flash drive simply dropped it on top of a supervisor's desk. Our documents sat there undiscovered for more than 24 hours until we announced on television that they were missing. That's their story. Obviously, we had some questions about it, but UPS executives did not answer our questions. Quote, there are no more details. Security is returning it. Apologies again that we were unable to deliver it next day at the service level you requested. Our exchanges went on like this for hours. And the main question we had never changed. How did our flash drive get separated from the package that we sent?
My main question, every night that I've played Tucker Carlson for what, the past fucking week, has never changed. What the fuck are you alleging? So now we've got some sketchy ass documents that we don't even know what they are, but we should take Tucker at his word that they are authentic and they are damning. But now we're moving on to a story about how UPS has mishandled it, and he's the victim of some kind of cabal. The deep state also has a fucking stake in UPS.
That seemed like something worth knowing. The envelope was securely sealed. We know that. 2 witnesses saw our producer seal it.
I still don't understand. Okay, so these are documents, a flash drive. You don't have a Dropbox? And why, when you're in New York, you're doing your show from New York, you flew to California to interview this Bubalinsky guy, and you needed the actual documents, not a copy of them that you could upload to Dropbox or email. You needed the actual documents shipped to LA for your interview. None of this adds up.
And UPS does not dispute that. Was the package torn open accidentally by a machine? That seems unlikely. UPS says that almost never happens. So we're left with the obvious explanation. Someone, for some reason, opened our package and removed a flash drive containing documents that were damaging to the Biden family. We'd love to know who would do that and why. It would be helpful to see the envelope itself, but UPS says we can't see it because they threw it away.
Over and over again, as we go through these accusations, it's going to come back to this idea that the right and the media, that the media is out to get the right wing. They're always playing victim. And most of the time, it's to something they fucking made up.
So here we are. We got our flash drive back today, and that's great. What we'd really like are some answers. And speaking of answers, it occurs as reading this that we mentioned the documents that we get from a lot of people. And we've received an awful lot of documents recently about Hunter Biden. We haven't aired.
I want to know what. Supposedly you've got your documents back. Can we see them now? Can I see what it is you've got your fucking panties in a wad about? Or is this just subterfuge so you can keep talking about this stupid ass story up until Tuesday? Occam's razor, ladies and gentlemen. The simplest explanation is usually the best. That's the simplest explanation.
All of them. In fact, many we have not aired. The ones that are pertinent to his business career abroad, favors he did on behalf of foreign clients with the help of his father. That seems relevant. And it seems like news, and we brought it to you. And
Fox News said those don't exist, the news division.
About Hunter Biden's personal life that we haven't brought to you, and we're not going to, and we should tell you why. One is the obvious answer. He's not running for president. And so to the extent those documents pertain to his dad, of course. But Hunter Biden is a fallen man at this point. And I should also say that I knew Hunter Biden fairly well. We lived near each other in Washington for quite some time. I knew his wife, who was an absolutely outstanding person, a good person. I never thought Hunter Biden was a bad person. I thought he had demons, but in the time I knew him, he kept them mostly under control. At some point, he lost control of those demons, and the world knows that now. He's now humiliated and alone. It's probably too strong to say we feel sorry for Hunter Biden, but the point is, pounding on a man, jumping on, piling on, when he's already down is something that we don't want to be involved in.
Wow. So now that you've got your documents back that you've had your hair on fire about, you're not going to show us and we should stop talking about Hunter Biden now. I'm interested to know what Tucker has to say tonight on his show. And look at the smirk on his face. He fucking knows it. That's the face of a man who knows he is absolutely full of shit. Holy fuck. Now, something interesting I saw earlier. Representative Ro Khanna sent a message to Tony Bobulinski. I like saying his name, by the way. Bobulinski. I think I'm saying it correct. Bobulinski. And this message is a little wild. So it has been confirmed. This is a message from Ro Khanna. Tony, hope you're doing okay. I did give an on-the-record statement to the New York Times that I know you. You've always acted honorably with me. You and other family members supported me. I've told any media outlets that have asked the same thing. I've refused to comment on the details of your allegations because I still don't know what the allegations are. The best I can tell is that there was some deal with this company called Sinohawk with the Chinese government, and they have a text message in which they're divvying up some sort of profits from this company, and they're saying they're holding $10 million back for the big guy. And they also made reference to the chairman a couple of times in text messages. Bobulinski's allegation is that the big guy is Joe Biden, and that Hunter Biden was somehow funneling money to Joe Biden. But this Sinohawk deal never happened. There was no money. Fox News has confirmed this. So even if we take the allegations at face value, we don't know that it was a shady business deal. It never happened. We're accusing a man of participating in some hypothetical business deal. But Khanna goes on to say, I respect your service to our country, that you have never been a partisan hack in our interactions. I also made it clear that I do not think you are a Russian agent. I will continue to make that statement to the media. Also, he's apparently given to Ro Khanna before. And Ro Khanna, it must be a pretty high-profile donor if Ro Khanna is messaging him himself multiple times saying he's grateful for his support. Tony Bobulinski must have been giving a lot of money to Ro Khanna, which is odd and really lets me down. Why is Ro Khanna taking money from this shady guy? And yes, I'm going to call him shady because he said he came forward because of the way the Bidens reacted to the story. But that's not true. We know that for a fact. That Bobulinski was in on shopping the story to the Wall Street Journal before the New York Post published it. But Bobulinski's statement on record is that he came forward after the Post story and the way the Biden family denied it. Or the way the Biden campaign handled it, or whatever the fuck he said. So now, in the comments from the clips last night, we'll take the second one is probably going to be the one where we actually get some information and we might be able to come to a conclusion about something. This is just going to be Alex Jones ranting. So I figured it'll be fun to play. Haven't heard from Alex Jones in a while. But this was in response to me asking for evidence. Right-wingers posted this under my clip. So let's see if this is evidence that convinces us.
President Trump just confirmed what Rudolph Giuliani has been laying out. They are set to release what we broke 2 weeks ago.
President Trump and Rudy Giuliani, they confirm it. Because those are two reliable sources that have never lied about anything and have impeccable reputations.
Evidence of Hunter Biden engaged in sex acts with underage minors, and it's all breaking right now.
And we have.
Do I even have to pull it up? Do I have to pull up the court documents? I'm sorry. I made a comment that we wouldn't be hearing from Trump tonight. I'm sorry. Alex Jones snuck him in. Here is the complaint. Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, alleges that Trump raped a 13-year-old girl. So now back to Alex Jones.
Have what's called the laptop from hell. The laptop from hell. From what I've understood, you only have seen a tiny portion of it. But you know what the press is now doing? They're blaming Russia. It's Russia that did it. Russia's the one that created the laptop.
As producers Dave pointed out,
underage girls there are.
This is too stupid for Russia.
That show that he's getting 10%. There are documents that show that he's getting half of what Hunter gets. There are.
Wow.
You can say what you want about Rudolph Giuliani.
I have. I've said a lot of shit about Rudolph Giuliani. I'll reiterate that Rudy Giuliani is a absolute dumb fuck.
I wasn't pro-war, but no one can deny that he is a former respected federal prosecutor that brought down the mob in New York. He is not the Steele dossier that the Clintons paid for that was proven to be fake day one and never showed one real piece of evidence.
Wasn't proven fake, and also it started as GOP op research against Trump.
So when Giuliani came out 2 weeks ago with Chinese dissidents who had seen the laptop and reported that it showed pedophilia, showed illegal acts with Hunter Biden and others, you knew it was accurate.
Oh, do I? Because apparently the FBI has been in possession of these materials for over a year, and if it was accurate, Hunter Biden would have already been arrested, so...
He's never put out defamation like that. That would destroy his name forever. Then the media tried to claim, oh, it's Russian disinfo. But U.S. intelligence came out and said, no, it's real from this laptop shop in Delaware.
It would seem that there were people in the Ukraine shopping this story around October of last year. You can look that one up.
And so now, 2 weeks later, they don't deny that the laptop is real. They just hope you forget about it. But it's not just the laptop. In a moment, we're going to play the audio that came out over a week ago with no coverage.
Ooh.
Which is confirmed, the Bidens haven't denied it, of Hunter Biden talking about getting $1 million from the head of Chinese intelligence. He talks about how the Southern District of New York is investigating him in a
Fox News said that deal never happened.
Criminal case and how scared he is. All of this is happening. And then on top of it, National File came out over a week ago. They've confirmed this is accurate as well, with Joe Biden's daughter talking about sexual abuse and other bizarre behavior, drug abuse, you name it. This is a family of very degenerate insane drug addicts who are clearly mentally ill. And that's why they're the perfect group for corrupt
Absolutely.
organizations in the U.S. and in China to recruit them and control them. So here's what Giuliani said 2 weeks ago.
Giuliani, Trump, I can go on. Mitch McConnell, just all of them. Cancer.
A clip of this is on our video, seen more than 3.3 million times at Band.video. And then we'll play a large part of the exchange where Giuliani was on with Lisa Kennedy on Fox News last night. And she was trying to say again.
Is that her name? I've never heard her full name before. Lisa Kennedy. I just thought she was Kennedy. Kennedy.
He's like the Steele dossier that's been proven to be total fraud, when what he's laid out has been proven to be real. Because the media can't deny this information. They can just try to call it disinformation.
I do believe that Jones has admitted in court.
Because this information will bring down not just the Bidens, but the entire deep state.
And when you look at these photographs that are disgusting and horrible,
Banned video. Yes, this is what we want to see.
Chinese have every single one, probably 10 times more. Because what the Chinese government has been doing, and a country was totally undefended against this, is setting Biden up, putting him in a position where he's totally compromised. They've now given him so much money, he's totally compromised. They now have pictures of his son doing things that I can't describe, some of which are illegal.
And some could say that you were acting like Christopher
Kennedy.
Steele, that you were abstracting information, and because
You got to be kidding me! I was acting like Christopher Steele.
that's what it sounds like when
Well,
you look at the people
apologize. You better apologize for that. I mean, I've been a United States Attorney, Associate Attorney General, Mayor of New York City, and a member of the bar.
Apparently, the office he ran is currently investigating him.
Steele?
I'm accusing you of
That's
acting in a
outrageous that you would do
capacity
that based on
similar
nothing.
to Christopher Steele, and that
Similar
you
to
were
a
going
crook?
back and forth between
Similar to an obstructor
Ukraine
of justice?
and the United
What you are
States.
saying is an outrageous defamation of me, of my reputation. Every single thing is here. And I want you to look at it, and then you apologize to me.
Look at it.
Well, you can come to my.
We're dying to look at it, and I would not go to Giuliani's hotel room if that's where.
I'm like Christopher Steele.
I would not go anywhere Giuliani invited me. Kennedy, don't do it.
There are documents that show that he's getting 10%. There are documents that show that he's getting half of what Hunter gets. There are. And when they're there, I want you to apologize to me because you
I will
just
come see
defamed
it.
me.
Absolutely.
And that's outrageous because you have no basis.
Nobody has to defame Rudy Giuliani. He will defame himself.
That is being withheld from the American people, and I get defamed. That's outrageous.
We are only a few days away from the election. And my White House sources, as well as Fox News sources, tell me that by tomorrow, more information is about to break concerning the Hunter Biden laptop that dwarfs anything that's been released.
By tomorrow.
And we have what's called the laptop from hell. The laptop from hell. From what I've understood, you only have seen a tiny portion of it.
Also breaking, James Rosen of Sinclair Broadcasting is now reporting that a criminal investigation by the FBI.
Now, James Rosen is who we're getting ready to watch here in just a second. Now, this is a more credible, but still talking about Sinclair Broadcasting. Ooh.
Has officially been opened into the Biden crime family.
A Justice Department official confirmed to Sinclair that back in 2019, the FBI opened up a criminal investigation into Hunter Biden and his associates.
Now, this isn't new news. We've known this, and that's why I'm calling bullshit on the child porn. If the FBI has had an investigation into this dude for over a year and he had child porn on a laptop, he would already be busted, especially in a Trump Justice Department. It makes zero fucking sense.
We're about to play audio of Hunter Biden talking about working with the head of Chinese intelligence.
Let's hear this audio.
Emails have been confirmed to be his, where he gives wiring instructions to the Chi-Com spy chief on where to send the money. Ladies and gentlemen, history is happening right now, and this entire house of criminal cards is coming down.
I get calls from my father to tell me that the New York Times is calling, but my old partner Eric, who literally has done me harm for I don't know how long, is the one taking the calls because my father will not stop sending the calls to Eric. I have another New York Times reporter calling about my representation of literally, Dr. Patrick Koh, the spy chief of China, who started the company that my partner, who was worth $323 billion, founded, and is now missing. The richest man in the world is missing, who was my partner. He was missing since I last saw him in his $58 million apartment and signed a $4 billion deal to build the largest LNG port in the world. And I am receiving calls from the Southern District of New York, from the U.S. Attorney himself. My best friend in business, Devin, has named me as a witness without telling me in a criminal case, and my father without telling me.
We're only 4 days out from the most historic election in world history. And to see big tech attempting to censor this information is absolutely damning evidence that they are
I disagree with you there, Creed Daly. Burn it down.
colluding with.
What? I had not seen this picture before. Is he hung?
And my father without telling me.
We're only 4 days out from the most historic election in world history. And to see big tech attempting to censor.
Whoa, in world history. That is a bold claim. In world history.
Is absolutely damning evidence that they are colluding with and working with not just the traitors in our government and the bureaucracy, but the communist Chinese themselves. But we, the American people, understood what was happening.
Oh, wait a minute.
In world history.
Were those supposed to be underage girls?
Attempting to censor this information is absolutely damning evidence that they are colluding with and working with.
Is that supposed to be a kid right there? Is that what they're alleging? First of all, this looks photoshopped with his head.
With not just the traitors in our government and the.
Is this supposed to be a kid? In the universe. The most important election in the universe. In the multiverse.
Bureaucracy, but the communist Chinese themselves. But we, the American people, understood what was happening when the censorship intensified 3 years ago, and we set up organizations like Ban.video, where this report and others are hosted. So you can share it on your email, share it on your instant message, and share it by word of mouth, and also on Facebook, Twitter, Google, and you name it. But if you don't share this information, Biden has a chance of being able to steal this election. So please, research this info for yourself. There's so much more that we can't even have time to cover, and then get it out to everyone you know, because you are the modern Paul Revere's. Whether you be black.
That was the kind of robe he was wearing, wasn't it? It looked like Buffalo Bill up in there.
White, old or young, I salute you. Good luck, and God bless.
We told you what was going to happen, and
Ooh. That was a lot. All right, so now we're going to go over here to the James Rosen from Sinclair broadcast. I've spent fucking 20-something minutes on this. This dumbass story. But that's what they're wanting. That's what they're wanting people to do. They're wanting to suck the air out of everything else. And they want Hunter Biden to dominate the news cycle. That's their play. They think it's the reopening of the Hillary emails from 2016.
Official confirmed to Sinclair that back in 2019, the FBI opened up a criminal investigation into Hunter Biden and his associates that is focused on allegations of money laundering and remains open and active today. Tony Bobulinski, thank you for joining us from Los Angeles. Separately, Tony Bobulinski, the former business partner of Hunter Biden, who has cited emails, documents, and other evidence to allege that former vice...
He has not cited shit. He's held up some phones. We've heard some audio out of context. Q-tip Mike Pence. Oh,
Vice President Biden was more deeply involved in his son's business dealings in China than either man has acknowledged, told Sinclair he was interviewed by the FBI in Washington on October 23rd with counsel present for about 5 hours, with up to 6 agents in the room at one time. He said the agents carefully examined the digital evidence captured on the 3 cell phones Bobulinski made available and told him he will be brought back for additional questioning.
They do list me as a material witness within the entire FBI on their computer systems, and it was a very cooperative, deep dive into all the facts across that time period.
In connection with what were you listed as a material witness?
In connection with the discussion of the Biden family, CFC, and other operations around the world involving other countries.
CEFC is the Chinese energy giant, effectively an arm of the government and the Communist Party, with which Hunter Biden pursued a $10 million deal, according to Bobulinski's first-hand account and a wealth of evidence now in the public domain. It was from CEFC, according to a Senate report, that Hunter Biden's law firm, through a company he helped set up, received approximately $5 million in the summer of 2017.
Joe, what's that all about?
This president paid 50 times the tax in China.
It was prior to the final presidential debate in Nashville on October 22nd.
He had a secret bank account.
A former Naval Nuclear Command officer with a...
Like, you want to talk about a presidential candidate's kids having business connections in China? You should look at the Trumps. God damn. And that's another, like, it's just projection. Everything from the right is projection. Accuse the other side of what you're doing like goddamn Nazis.
Clearance, now a wealthy corporate investor, first went public with his charges about the Biden family, including his account of 2 face-to-face meetings with the former vice president. The FBI interviewed Bobulinski the very next day. Did you get the sense that the FBI had already been working on these related issues and matters prior to you making that public statement in Nashville?
My impression is everyone in that room was very aware of the sensitivity of the parties involved here and potential multiple impacts to this country.
Vice President Biden has denied having any knowledge of his son's overseas business dealings, but the authenticity of the digital evidence that Bobulinski has cited has not been disputed by the Biden campaign.
The authenticity of the evidence. That's what they keep saying. That's how they're not actually proving that this shit happened. They're saying, oh, no. We think it's real. We think we authenticated it. I'm still waiting for this damning evidence.
The campaign's director of rapid response did not respond to our requests for comment. In Washington, James...
And I don't think they should. This is just an attempt at subterfuge to suck the air out of any other story that might happen, especially trying to take the air out of the coronavirus spike that's going on right now that can directly be blamed for the inaction by the stupid-ass president. Now, this next story is not the Hunter Biden laptop story, but is about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Well, we got to talk about it even more because Glenn Greenwald, a journalist who I've always loved, has lobbed some accusations at The Intercept and has resigned his position as of yesterday over the fucking Hunter Biden laptop story. So he was on the Hill, was it this morning or yesterday? It was this morning. On the Hill this morning explaining, let's take a listen.
Can you just take people through sort of step by step what happened here? And also, was this over just this one article about Hunter Biden, or was this kind of a broader schism that's been brewing for some time?
It's definitely part of a broader schism that's been brewing for some time, although even in the absence of that, even if things had been perfect, I would never accept somebody telling me that I can't publish my views or perspectives without having other people first agree with what it is that I'm saying. So even if everything had been perfect, I think this probably would have happened anyway. But no, as I detailed, I had a growing dissatisfaction with the direction of The Intercept. And a lot of this, I think people have to understand is the way that I've always written is based in how I began writing, which is I didn't go to Columbia Journalism School and then try and get a job at the New York Times. I opened a blog for free in 2005 and just began expressing my views about what I was seeing in the Bush administration, the war on terror, and then I would hit publish. And that's how I built an audience, was because I was being so free in my expression and candid and about my tone and talking like a real human being. And so I never wanted to enter media outlets. And when they...
So now I want to actually pull up the article. He published it on the Substack. And he said he published it exactly as it was when he presented it to the editors. The real scandal: U.S. media uses falsehoods to defend Joe Biden from Hunter's emails. I have a real problem with that title. What the fuck is he talking about? The New York Post 2 weeks ago, emails Hunter Biden's laptop relating to blah, 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 and subsequent articles. One outcome is that the Biden campaign concluded rationally that there is no need for the front-running president. Yes, they shouldn't address the issue. I don't think so. Rather than condemn Biden for ignoring these questions, the natural instinct of a healthy press when it comes to a presidential election, journalists have instead led the way in concocting excuses to justify its silence. First of all, I want to know where this silence is. It's all I've fucking heard about. It's the thing I keep talking about on my own fucking show. To 2 or 3 people in a fucking stream. After the Post's first article, both the newspaper and other news outlets have published numerous other emails and texts purportedly written to and from Hunter, reflecting his efforts to induce his father to take actions as vice president beneficial to the Ukrainian energy company Burisma, on whose board of directors Hunter sat for a monthly payment of $50,000, as well as proposals for lucrative business deals in China that traded on his influence with his father's. Now, the writer from the New York Times that broke the story about Burisma is a writer for the Intercept now. And he says that's ass backwards. That Biden tried to get a corrupt prosecutor fired for not investigating companies like Burisma. So here's the article. In the Intercept, James Risen. To see my journalism twisted, perverted, and turned into lies and poisonous propaganda by Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and their enablers. This is in the Intercept. And then Glenn even points out, Glenn is on the level. I just, like, he's not going to be throwing bullshit into his stories. But his framing of all this. And like, producer Dave had a fantastic tweet about it. They got him banned on Twitter for a little bit. He tweeted it, Glenn, just nail yourself to a fucking cross already. Because Glenn has been questionable in some of the things he's said as of late. But thus far, no proof has been offered by Bobulinski that Biden ever consummated his participation in any of those discussed deals. Wall Street Journal says it found no corporate records reflecting that the deal was finalized. Didn't show Hunter Biden or James Biden discussing a role for Joe Biden in the venture. Glenn is complaining that the media didn't do its due diligence, and then goes on to list the ways that the media did its due diligence. Fox News reported the same thing, the news division. Not Tucker Carlson. But here, but nobody claimed that any such deals had been consummated, so the conclusion that one had not does not negate the story. What is the story then? I thought the story was that Joe Biden was participating in this corrupt deal and that China had some kind of fucking shit on him that they could use to blackmail him. Beyond that, the Journal's columnist reviewed a stash of documents and found correspondence corroborates and expands on emails recently published by the New York Post, including ones where Hunter was insisting that it was his connection to his father that was the greatest asset sought by the Chinese. I bet. Please, let's have a discussion about nepotism in this country and how we don't live in a meritocracy. We live in an oligarchy where rich people's kids get jobs for no fucking reason. I wonder what Meghan McCain had to say about this. These documents also demonstrate, reported the Times, that the countries that Hunter Biden, James Biden, and their associates plan to target for deals overlapped with nations where Joe Biden had previously been involved as vice president. Isn't that every fucking country? Especially if you're talking about Ukraine and China. In case you guys aren't aware, there was an invasion by Russia into the Ukraine towards the end of the Obama presidency. And China is always in the forefront of international relations. So, the vice president was involved in matters in the Ukraine and China? All of these materials, the authenticity of which has never been disputed by Hunter Biden or the Biden campaign, raise important questions about whether the former vice president and current front-running presidential candidate was aware of his efforts by his son to peddle influence with the vice president for profit. Sure, look into it. Apparently the FBI is investigating it has been investigating it for a year and has come up with nothing yet. So and god damn, I love Glenn, but like, look at all this he wrote about this shit. To say fucking nothing.
He began trying to invite me to go and join those.
But the story has been Glenn Greenwald now.
The same exact editorial freedom where I post directly to the internet without editorial intervention, except in rare cases like the Snowden case or the Brazil reporting, or where it could give rise to legal liability. And this has always been the condition of any place that I went, written into my contract, Salon, The Guardian. And obviously I didn't go and create a new media outlet when I created The Intercept in order to impose greater limits on my own freedom. Nobody would do that, and I didn't either. So I've always had that freedom to publish directly to the internet without anyone intervening, which is why I've been able over the last 4 years to be able, for example, to publish so much stuff.
Now, when he says intervening, you can go, he actually published the emails with his editor. They seem so banal. And like, I agree with the editor. I agree with, and some I agree with and some I disagree with. Overall, I think this piece can work best if it is significantly narrowed down to what you first discussed. Media criticism about liberal journalists not asking Biden questions. There are a couple of published emails and texts in which Hunter Biden or his business partners suggest or hint that Joe Biden might be aware of or involved in their dealings with China. Those passages have gotten the most attention, justifiably, but they are vague. Exactly. Just seems like what an editor should be doing, right? Having a discussion with a journalist about the ethics of the story he's trying to pose. It's unclear whether Joe Biden, even if he is the big guy, was aware of the ownership share. I feel there are substantive problems with the way you present the material on Ukraine. We just went over that. His own colleague at The Intercept disputes what he said. There are many places in the piece where you say that the material raises serious questions about Biden's motives, yet you never present any evidence that supports such questions. Exactly! But that's not evidence he was installed by Biden in order to achieve that end. It appears from the quote Taibbi cites that Biden initially had no idea who Shokin's proposed successor was. And yes, exhaustive GOP-led Senate investigations found no evidence. That's why, if you are going to make these claims, I'm gonna need to see something. Because all the evidence points to the contrary. So let's see what Glenn says back. I don't agree with the sections regarding the serious questions raised by the emails Biden should have to answer are either unnecessary or inaccurate. While I'm willing to talk about any specific factual inaccuracies, of which there were, we pointed it out, I'm not willing to remove those sections. In part because I think that discussion is important in its own right. But what are we discussing here? I believe I was quite careful not to say that the emails prove Biden had a corrupt motive. Correct. You said it and then fucking dance circles around it for fucking paragraphs after. This Hunter Biden story that I wish I hadn't spent the whole show talking about, but goddamn, it's all the right-wingers are coming at me with. Let's get back to Glenn here.
Skepticism about Russiagate, when it was horrifying my colleagues at The Intercept who were on board with Russiagate and knew that it was making their liberal friends angry. It was only because I had that right. So that right is sacrosanct to me, to be able to express my views without having to negotiate the tone I'm using or what it is that I'm saying to appease other people's ideological preferences or their own views of what is correct or incorrect. And that's why I encouraged them. And I said, look,
it's not about views of what is correct.
I totally understand that it's a very debatable issue. Then you should actually go and write your own article and say why what I'm saying is wrong and have air that debate, air that dissent instead
or get on a stream and point it out.
The reality is that the reason they didn't want to do that is because in 2016, The Intercept was one of those publications like the New York Times that was blamed for Trump's winning because we did do a lot of reporting on the Hillary emails because that was our job as reporters. And they didn't want to spend the next 4 years, if Trump won, having their friends say, oh, look, you did it again. You published an...
Well, those friends are stupid. Anyone that blames a media outlet for reporting on news is idiotic. One person and one person only is responsible for Hillary Clinton's loss in 2016, and it's fucking Hillary Clinton and her shitty-ass campaign. Read the book Shattered. Fantastic book. It will tell you all the ways the campaign dropped the ball.
An article about Joe Biden before the election.
The merch link works. Check down in the description. You should be able to click on it.
or even if Trump lost, saying, oh, look, you were trying to help Trump. That's the reality. They were captive to fears about what people on Twitter would say, what their friends and colleagues would say, and they just didn't want me reporting anything that would reflect on negatively on Joe Biden for that reason.
So, Glenn, The Intercept responded.
Now, I didn't get that from reading the editor's responses.
The narrative Glenn presents about his departure is teeming with distortion and inaccuracies, all of them designed to make him appear as a victim rather than a grown person throwing a tantrum. You published your email correspondence yesterday with those editors over the said censorship of your article there. Could you just lay out the actual accuracies here about and address their response?
Ah, shit.
Sure. I mean, look, in order to explain to the public, including my own readership, why I was leaving the media outlet I created with great fanfare, I obviously had to be honest about my dissatisfactions with it. So I understand that the people who are still at The Intercept need to defend themselves, which means attacking me, and that's fine. But this is not a case where anyone needs to figure out who's telling the truth. I said from the beginning I was going to...
I seriously, we just went through it. I don't see how anybody was attacking him.
Publish all of the information in the name of transparency.
That's weird.
That The Intercept has often failed to provide for itself, most notoriously in the Reality Winner case, where to this very day it never has explained to the public why that happened, how it happened, who did that, and I was furious about that. That was one of the main...
If you haven't heard about the Reality Winner case, you really need to look that up. But The Intercept tried to verify the documents with the CIA, or the NSA, I can't remember which one it was, and it actually led them to realize it was Reality Winner and completely outed their own source. So that was a grave mistake by The Intercept.
Fights I had with them, and so I didn't want to be like that, be that way. So I published the correspondence.
It should be like click the expand button. It should be on there. I promise you.
All of it I had with my editors surrounding their attempt to censor my article, and it was
thank you for checking it out.
What they said, which is, we're not going to let you publish this unless you remove all of the sections that talk about Joe Biden and Ukraine and Burisma and Joe Biden and China, and instead just make it a very narrow, much more stripped down version of this article by talking about your media criticisms. And
as a writer, I understand exactly what they're talking about. We just looked at his article. It's how many words was that? 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 words? I mean, Jesus, Glenn.
I said, look, if there's a factual inaccuracy in the article, of course I want you to identify that, but you haven't. But I'm not going to take out the parts that are critical of Joe Biden and just make it a media critique, in part because on principle that's wrong, but also because the media...
I want to know what the critique of Joe Biden is exactly. Just that he doesn't respond to the allegations?
Story here in the first place. And you can just see in the emails that was what they were saying. We're not going to publish this unless the sections about Biden are removed.
So let me ask you this, Glenn.
No, they wanted you to make your article far more concise.
Weren't sure
and get to the fucking point
yesterday for a couple of reasons. Number one, because so many of us had such great, incredible respect for you, but also maybe because the bar has been so lowered. The Intercept has been one of the only left-leaning outlets or independent outlets or sort of mainstream outlets that has covered Biden critically at all. Ryan Grimm obviously broke the initial story about Tara Reade's allegations being suppressed by the Time's Up organization. There's been other critical reporting of Democrats, the uncovering of the Alex Morse smear campaign that went down. So it's sort of like, we see at least some critical and honest reporting coming out there. Can you speak to that part?
Leftists have been criticizing Biden hard.
I see a lot of people are frankly acting in bad.
I cannot wait until Biden gets elected and I can go back to bitching about Democrats. Holy fuck. Do I miss ragging on Democrats every day? I'm very much looking forward to it. I will relish the opportunity for this show to be an hour, 2 hours of me just bashing Democrats every day.
faith who want to use your legitimate critique to smear basically every journalist that's working at The Intercept, some of whom I know you believe also are doing excellent work. Can you talk to those two pieces?
If you manage it.
Oh, fuck that. You got too many ads, Hill. Still saying nothing. I've spent an hour on this shit, and I still don't know what it is. Before we went on the air, apparently Twitter has freed the New York Post after they refused to take their tweets down about this. The Intercepted Rising are pretty mainstream. I bash Democrats all the time. You haven't watched the show, if you haven't heard it, plenty of clips on my YouTube. They didn't rescind. What they did was they changed their policy about hacked materials so that this story doesn't fit under their definition of hacked materials or whatever the fuck. But hey, if you want to get upset about Twitter blocking people, why don't you, everybody that's in my room right now, why don't you all message Twitter and ask why Justin Freakin can't be on Twitter? Had my account since 2010, 2011. Mass reported by neo-Nazis and dumb fuck right-wingers. Commie boy. I'm not a commie boy, but that is something we can talk about on Monday. The actual definition of communism, capitalism, because right-wingers don't fucking know. What we need to detail is that we're actually a mixed economy, as all economies are. But on Monday, I've got a special guest coming on. His name is Poop Boy. He's going to be on the show. He's going to video in. We're going to talk to him. It's going to be interesting. You're not going to want to miss it. Now, I had a debate with a man by the name of Old Gord. You can go check that out on my YouTube channel. Debate was not a debate. He got slaughtered. Now, Poop Boy, I think Poop Boy is going to be able to handle himself. It's going to be far more interesting. So that'll be happening Monday. Everybody have a fantastic Halloween. Stay safe out there. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We'll see you on Monday night on the Troll Patrol. Live.